Thanks. Why do you put such penalties? Will we live for so many years? Send me to the firing squad, because if I get out, I will do the same again. These were the first words of Kuriakos papaxronis, also known as the Dragon of Drama, when he heard the sentence imposed by the court at the end of 1982. He had been sentenced to death twice and sentenced to an additional 23 years, but the sentence was eventually commuted to life imprisonment. His indictment was serious and included homicide, rape, attempted murder, and bodily harm, arson, and bombing. In his statement, he not only confirmed that he had committed the crimes, but acknowledged that he was a public danger. He wanted to take revenge on all women. Kuriakos papaxronis was born and raised in Xanthi. In his adolescence, around the age of 14, he had an experience which, as he later stated, scarred him and made him hate women. Together with his friends, he visited a brothel where a prostitute insulted his manhood and called him incompetent. From that day on, the idea of revenge was born inside him. His actions began several years after this incident, when he was about 19 years old and a reserve officer in the 5th Squadron of the DOC LOC. Afterwards, he will also personally participate in the search for a perpetrator. On September the 5th, 1981, he raped and killed a prostitute. It was the first of his many crimes. The rest of his actions, up until his arrest, can be summarized as follows. December 1981, attempted murder of a woman in Drama. January 1982, attempted rape and murder of a female student in Drama. August 1982, the rape and murder of a 20-year-old Thessaloniki student and the murder of 5 other women in Drama and Xanthi, also causing bodily harm to some. 5 bombings, most of them on bank branches in Drama, Kavala and Xanthi, and also arson at Kavala Airport. In all these cases, he also participated in the search for the perpetrator. Authorities in northern Greece were on alert. They were looking for the perpetrator who had spread terror among women and had already been named as the Dragon of Drama. Papaxronis continued to serve his military term as if nothing was happening. This is because, according to the testimonies of the women who he had tried to rape and kill, the perpetrator was wearing a military uniform when he attacked them. Thus, the police officers had concluded that it was a permanent or reserve officer involved in these crimes. In order to identify him, searches were carried out in all the camps in the area. Papaxronis had been appointed leader of a group and was tasked with identifying the perpetrator. Eventually, thanks to information gathered by 2 other officers, Papaxronis was finally arrested. Initially, Papaxronis denied the accusations. While he was with the investigator, however, at some point he broke down and confessed to his crimes. The report at the time reported that the dragon was irritated by the sound of women's heels. Papaxronis' fetish was also revealed in public when he said to a journalist, "I love you because you have high heels." In his apology, he admitted all of his actions. His cynical description caused a sensation. It simply came to my notice then. I wanted to kill. I reached greatness. I was hitting them. It was over. He was irritated by the sound of heels. he said cynically after his arrest. After his arrest, his mother, who was being chased down by reporters for a statement, said, "I knew something was wrong with that child. He always ate his dessert first, and then his food." His trial lasted 5 days, from the 14th to the 18th of June 1983, in the building of the 5-member Court of Appeal of Thessaloniki, but under the jurisdiction of the Permanent Military Court of Kavala. And he was provocative on all of the 5 days. With theatricality, fanaticism, he shouted about his manhood and strength, denying even the defensive line of his own lawyers. "I did not build this body for so many years for psychiatrists to destroy it," he will tell them. In front of the cameras, he was aggressive, shouting that he would escape and slaughter a lot of people, forcing the authorities to allocate dozens of police officers to guard him during these 4 days. After the testimony of 40 witnesses and his apology confession, Papaxronis was sentenced twice to death. In front of the cameras, he will say, in the same theatrical, narcissistic style, "It's better to execute me than for me to rot the rest of my years in prison. I lived up to this age. I exercised, I enjoyed life as much as I could. From now on, I do not want to have painful experiences from life. Just put me 6 feet under." His last wish before crossing the threshold of prison was to meet his 16-year-old Dina, his girlfriend. Nobody knew that he was in a permanent relationship. It was a revelation of the newspaper Apoyev Matini and the then young reporter Angeliki Nicolouli. "Are you afraid of me, Dina?" "No, Kuriakos. But I'm the dragon." "It does not matter to me, my dear." "Do you hate me?" "No, I love you." This supposedly was the dialogue between them. Papaxronis was taken to prison, and women in northern Greece felt relieved and safe. But not everyone. There were some who not only did not hate the ruthless dragon, but admired and declared themselves fascinated. To express their admiration for him, they sent him love letters in prison, which psychologists described as a sick obsession. Some women said they were fascinated by the murderer and rapist, Papaxronis, and sent letters to him in prison. He was not an easy prisoner, at least in the beginning. In the prisons of Corfu, he got involved in quarrels, beat his inmates, and took the lead in all of the small uprisings. In the military prisons of Thessaloniki, where he was later transferred, he continued his aggressive behavior. It was characteristically written that in one of his big outbursts, which lasted close to 4 hours, he completely destroyed his cell. In time, however, he did begin to calm down. He threw himself into reading, painting, and rediscovering his faith. 22 years after his conviction, and at the age of 44, he was released on restrictive conditions, where in addition to the expected condition that would force him to appear every 15 days at the local police station, he was also banned from staying in cities where he had committed attacks. Drama, Xanthi and Thessaloniki were now forbidden places for him. In a written statement that he will distribute to journalists, he wrote, "22 years ago, driven by the urgency of age, and especially by my filthy intercourse, we all sold our souls to Lucifer, and I personally lost, receiving a devastating legal payback. I apologize to the enacting state from the bottom of my soul for those abominable burdens of my iniquities, and I promise from now on to live in a pure and modest state, and of course, blameless in everything. Hasta la vista." Since his release in 2004 and up until today, he has not committed any further crimes, but has featured in TV gossip shows. The first time with a photo that was released and showed him with Julia Alexandratou in a club in La Zona, where the latter had gone for an appearance, and the second time when it became known that he was engaged. At that time, it was known that he now lived in Larissa. The latest information we have about him comes from February 2020, when he was hospitalized with an acute ischemic stroke in the hospital of Kozani. Unrecognizable today, and at the age of 61, with all white hair and a beard, he lives in Kila, Kozani, together with his wife of many years, Lina Toliu, and about 20 dogs and cats. Stuck in a wheelchair due to a stroke, the situation of Kuriakos papaxronis has been characterized as irreversible.